This is a Blairing Out with Eric Blair show, and we're backstage here at the Galaxy Concert Theater in beautiful downtown Santa Ana with Rob Vannice of JUICEHEAD. How you doing tonight, Rob?
Doing excellent.
When JUICEHEAD formed in 2003, what did you feel you had to offer punk rock?
Well, I just really wanted to keep to the old traditional, really make it punk rock music. A lot of the stuff that's coming out nowadays, although it falls under the category, I didn't feel it was doing the justice. So basically, my main point was bring it back to the stuff I grew up on, first and second wave punk, and basically, just have a good time with it,
Now, I know you guys are I think you especially are a big fan of Mike Patton from Faith No More. And you kind of see a longevity in his career that you would like JUICEHEAD to have.
Well, I mean, evolution's crucial. So basically, when you got a guy like Mike Patton who, basically he must never sleep, it's really interesting to watch an artist like that, basically evolve. And the evolution of music is what's crucial. And, I'm going to bring it back to the Beatles again, my favorite band. But they evolved so much in 7 years that it's almost to the point where it's incredible. And if you think about it, JUICEHEAD's been around for over 7 years, and we haven't even begun to touch the type of things that eventually we'd like to do. So yes, I mean, it's always about moving forward. It's always about, bettering and not repeating yourself.
Describe the Chicago music scene when you guys were coming up.
The Chicago music scene is funny. There's a lot of great punk bands, but the turnover is crazy. So, I mean, really to swim with the sharks, you got to have big balls and, you have to have real dedication. So, I've seen a lot of my friends come and go from the scene, but, they always come back to it. But, I don't think there's anybody really anywhere doing the type of thing that JUICEHEAD's doing. I think we have a real individual sound, and I think that's why we have gotten to the point that we are.
The Devil Made Me Do It. I listened to a lot of tunes off that today. It sounds live, like you're in a room just banging it out.
Yeah, we did the whole thing completely DIY, no metronome, which in hindsight, I can't believe we pulled it off with no metronome. I mean, but, we knew the songs back and forth, and, basically we recorded it in a basement. We did the drums in a basement, and then we did all the vocals in a small apartment, the guitars and the bass, and it came out sounding really gritty and really raw. Now, it only started out as 4 songs for a demo. We were just trying to get shows in the city. So when we heard kind of the way it was coming out, and we hadn't heard a punk band do something like this in such a long time, that it was like, well, hey, it's working for us. Let's see if we can do the whole album, have it sound consistent.
You were discovered by Osaka pop stars John Cafiero. How did he come to find you?
It's funny. We were, MySpace was a burgeoning scene, and a lot of bands were starting to use it, to their advantage. And so basically what we would do is we'd go to all the bands that we liked, NoFX and Rancid, and, obviously the Misfits were a huge influence on any punk band. So basically we would just leave messages. My bass player would leave really goofy messages, which actually turned out to be a blessing in disguise, because he left it, said Goonie Goo Goo, simply that, on the Misfits Records page. And it's from Delirious, I believe, that Eddie Murphy stand-up. And John just happened to be looking, and, something about that caught his eye. He listened to us, and we got contacted, and it was a very surreal moment when we realized, well, you know what, we do have potential. And, John has made us realize our potential, and he's, been instrumental in getting us to the point we're at tonight.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you've been touring with the Misfits now for, I think, off and on a couple of years, right?
This is our second major tour with them. And then we've done, smaller tours with Agent Orange and DI, and, but yeah, I mean, right place at the right time.
Yeah.
And you can have all the talent in the world, if you're not, if somebody doesn't see you and see something in you, then, then it can be really hard. But that doesn't mean people shouldn't stop doing it. I mean, it's always that quest. It's to better the music. It's always going to be about the music. But, when you get to this point, you definitely start to see the way the business works, and it's a very interesting world. And, I'm all about it. Well, and it's funny because I am still a working man, yes, we have great opportunities, but, I continue to work a regular job to keep doing what I need to do. I work at Trader Joe's.
Sweet.
Yeah, well, great products, great food.
You can ask for a better job.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. And you know what? If it weren't for them, I'd basically have to be bouncing back from job to job. So it's nice to have a job with a little bit of flexibility. They're very liberal with, helping out their employees, which is great,
And that's not too different than what Casey Royer is doing. Casey Royer from DI and the Adolescents, he works at Subway, and when he has to go on these year-long tours, they let him go.
Yeah, and and I was speaking of Casey Royer and DI, I was speaking with the rest of the guys. Everybody does what they need to do to keep doing what they love to do. And that's what's very important. We didn't walk into the situation thinking, oh, we're going to quit our jobs and we're going to, be rock and roll stars. We knew it was going to be an uphill battle, and we knew it was going to be fun, and we knew it was going to be hard.
What inspired the song Covered in Blood off of the Devil Made Me Do It LP?
Well, I had recently gone through a breakup with a girlfriend, and I found out that she had cheated on me. I was less than happy about it, let's put it that way. And I mean, all great songs come from an emotional depth, and sometimes it hurts, and sometimes it's, it doesn't hurt so much, but it always comes from someplace within. So basically, I was with a buddy of mine, Sam Rosenberg, and we had a few beers, and I was really venting to him, and I pulled out my guitar, and I just kind of started strumming along, and it started to become a funny thing. Me and him were laughing about it, but at the same time, when I sat down to really write the lyrics, it was a little half and half. It was a little serious, and it was a little, very angst-driven. And don't get me wrong, I have nothing against women.
Of course not. No, that's what we call in the heat of the moment type of writing. And I mean, that's the best way to go. You get the most anger and aggression out at that point. Do you consider yourself a political band?
No, but there are political themes that run through our music. I think personal responsibility trumps any political, topic you can tackle. I mean, if everybody takes a little bit of responsibility for themselves, then the politicians and the laws wouldn't press so hard on us. It's what happens is, people petition a certain way, and then the government gets involved. If people would just take a little bit of responsibility for what they're doing and look at themselves, and like I've said it a million times, for every finger you got pointed at somebody else, there's 10 more pointed at you.
Critics are calling JUICEHEAD an intelligent punk band. What would you say to that?
Well, I appreciate it. I mean, I try and come across as, as non-bullshit as possible. Hopefully I can say that on your show. Don't know. And, but, really, I dig a little deeper, and that's all there is to it. Honestly, the songwriting process for every different song is going to be different. It's not all going to be, about the same topic, but hey, if that's what they're saying, God bless them.
What do you feel Osaka pop stars John Cafiero brought to the recording process for the new CD, How to Sail a Sinking Ship?
Well, John Cafiero's got a better ear than anybody I've ever met. So first off, having him, sign on as producer is, you already got, basically a hound dog in your corner. I mean, he's really gonna stay on top of it. He's really gonna make you work for it, but he hears it, and that's the important thing. Is the guy's more talented than anybody I've ever met. So, I mean, it's really good to have a guy like John in our corner. I think it's good for anybody to have a guy like John in their corner, because a lot of the times I see bands and they're very misdirected. And, John has a firm hold on what needs to be done and how to do it correctly. And that might be sonically, it might be, in terms of business or, whatever it is. I mean, he's very efficient. He's very good.
What is it like touring with the Misfits?
It's a lot of fun. I mean, the second time around, you're a little more down to earth. I remember, as a matter of fact, we're at the Galaxy Theater in Santa Ana, and this is where we kicked off our first tour with the Misfits. And I remember it being very surreal. We were very green, but I've watched and I've learned. And if you're gonna learn from somebody, the Misfits are probably the best to learn from. They really know the business. They know their fans. Jerry's very good with his fans, and I think that's one of the most important things to do is really acknowledge your fans. As they're just as important as the songwriting process is. It's everybody. It's the big picture. And I think, you know, touring with bands like the Misfits has really helped me see how things should go, how things should be run, and how you should, you know, take care of your fans and treat them like family.
Osaka pop star and JUICEHEAD have teamed up for a single to cover a Fugazi song called The Waiting Room. How did that come together, and what are your hopes for that?
Yeah, you know, it was funny. JUICEHEAD had been doing a small tour out east, and that's when we initially met up with John. And so the first show that John saw of us play, we covered Waiting Room. Now, we covered a couple different songs over the years, but that's one that really stands out. It's a favorite of mine. But yeah, so when he heard that, we started discussing, well, maybe we can, you know, put this on a record, or, you know, release it as a single, or do whatever. But, you know, we got to recording it, and when I started to hear the mixes, it's got all the power, you know, that you'd hope you can convey with a song like that, because that song is hard to not just duplicate, but, you know, to be on the same level on. And, you know, it sounds incredible, and I can't wait for people to hear it.
What's next for JUICEHEAD?
We got some new music coming out, obviously. I can't give you the details right now because nothing's finalized, but, you know, we do have a lot of songs written. They're going through the mastering process, and, you know, we'll see. We're going to let them trickle out and, you know, let the ideas come together and just see what, you know, we decide to do with it. But in the next year, you're going to see a lot of new music from JUICEHEAD, a lot of good new music.
Blaring Out with Eric Blair with Rob Vannice of JUICEHEAD, signing off.
The Blaring Out Show.